Okay, feathers. We're going to actually start on some feathers, and we're going to sort of do some different styles of feathers, and I'll show you some examples a bit later on in terms of some of the books I like for feathers. I always start by showing people a feather that I don't particularly like, because I always think it looks like a giant caterpillar. But nevertheless, it's quite a good technique to learn, so I always show you anyway. So one of the first things you do is actually draw an arc that you're going to put your feather around. So I'm going to start with this one here, and then you just do a little bead on the top of it. Now, one thing that you will discover when you're drawing feathers is that you have to do them in the same direction. You can't actually start at one end, turn it round and come up the other way, because they actually twist for some reason. So that's the first thing I'm going to show you. So this one here, you're going to draw a shape, and you're going to come in, so you're about 1/2 inch from the starting point, and then you're going to travel along about 1 inch, and then you're going to come over and you're going to bump onto this feather here. You're going to travel back over, and you're going to swing out, come into about 1 inch within now, so you're going into inches. You travel along and you bump back over, and then you swing out again. So we're travelling along that inch, we come round, we travel over the top, and we come round again. Come along 1 inch, come over, bump over the top, and now that's the final part. Now, and as you can see, at the moment, that looks like a bit of an unsightly, I think, caterpillar or centipede or something. So I never quite like the style of this. So now you need to actually travel back up this line. It's quite important that you do learn how to go back over lines. And now we're actually going to come out from the opposite direction. So we're coming out, coming in, first one at only about 1/2 inch. We're going to travel along about 1 inch, come over the top, back over, and bump to the line. Down about 1 inch. Don't worry about getting these perfectly aligned to where you've come. Out, over the top, back round, bump the line, along, over the top, round, and so on. I'm going to come over here and bring the last one in. So it's quite a fat feather design, you'll see, it's kind of thing, but nevertheless it sort of serves its purpose, and it is a good technique to learn. The style that I prefer is actually making it much loopier and coming back and hitting in the same place. So again, you're still going to start with that curve, only this time we're actually going to come again with a bead first of all to follow round, and I'm coming round to that. I'm now going to swing from that one out and in, okay? If I find that I'm actually making them so they're too tight, I will sometimes put in a small one to help me work around it. So then I'll bring one out again and come in. So here, over the top, round. You see I'm coming in much tighter to these ones here. Again, you have to travel back to the top and around. So you're coming round. Again, you don't need to worry about lining them up perfectly. You get so that you've got a small one here, bring it round. So you get a very different shaped feather. There are other ways as well that you can then sort of change that if you don't like it or you're worried about that line overlapping. So what you can do instead, and again it means that you can embellish your feathers and do a bit more on them. Again, start with your arc, come around, so here I'm still coming round doing these feathers like the second way I've shown you. Put the small one in here, So coming round, and I've got another one here. Now this time, instead of following up on the line, I'm actually going to do a line that puts a gap in there. Okay, and this time now I'm going to come out, still going to come down and create the feather in the same way. You can see you're sort of rounding them a bit more as you come down. Now in this centre here, I'm actually going to bead it, or put some pebbles in. And you'll see in a book that I'll show you later on that the author of that book, whose name has just dropped out of my head, actually does lots of variations on this sort of style. So you can see you can put some nice pebbles in, and you can embellish your feathers a bit more. You could also do something like this. Let's come down and do another feather. So again, we're going to put that gap in there. This time I'm just going to come down and shadow it with another line. You can see that you can sort of play around quite a lot with feather shapes. Here, you could have put all sorts of things in that area here. You could just literally go from side to side the way you did in ladies' legs. Yeah. So you can see you can do lots of sort of different variations through the centre of that. This is another feather design where you could actually create some scrolls and things on it as well. So here I'm going to create more of a S shape, but a very sort of elongated S shape. Okay, and I'm actually going to, on the top of this, have a swirl straight away, and I'm going to double back on that a bit. And now I'm going to bring a feather out from it. I'm going to come out a bit more down here. And now I'm going to add another scroll. Right. More feathers. Another scroll. I could come around a different way this time. Okay. Now this time I need to come up the top. You don't want to sort of leave an open centre. And here I will start the feathering down again. And now I'm going to bring out a scroll again. And again. And again. So you can see you can sort of create some different effects here. What's quite nice that you could do on the back of something like a cushion, imagine you have your cushion here, and particularly if you find that you can draw one side of your feathers better than the other, is to create like a C shape, a large C. Okay, do your first part here where you're adding your bead and go round on this outside with feathers. And we're just going to take them all the way around. So you can see here. Then we're going to add some swirls. Whoops, it needs to be a bit rounder, sorry about that. Right, so here now I'm going to add a swirl on this end, and I'm actually going to try and double back on that. I don't want it to be an open shell, and I'm going to put another one here. So I'm tracking that line. I'm going to come round and I'm going to do another one in here. Doubling back on that line. And I'll put another piece in here. Now I'm going to add a small swirl here, come round, add another bit in here. So you can sort of just keep embellishing as you like. Another small. So sort of stop and have a look at where you're at. Oops. You might even decide that you want to take some bits out on the bottom and along. So you can create some nice, just adds to the sort of design and the shape. Over here maybe. And here you might want to add one just on the end. It's really sort of playing around with the shape so that you can see sort of different things. It's about getting to the machine and then just playing. This is my centipede feather. Not one that is my sort of favourite, but nevertheless it is sort of a nice feather to do still. This is my preferred way of doing a feather, and most people find that a bit easier to do. You see, depending on the way it goes, it's going to look quite different. This is a bit more stylised, so adding some swirls and so on. And obviously on the machine you might make these a bit neater, you might do them narrower. This is showing you how you can add a filler. If you don't really like sort of doubling back on the line, then you could add fillers and different shapes. And I got that idea from Cheryl Malkowski and her book. I'll show you a picture of that in a moment. And this was the last sort of variation on feathers as well. This actually can look quite nice on the back of a cushion if you want to quilt sort of the cushion and that, and it just looks quite nice to do on there.